Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala ashrafil mursaleen Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We started this class on stories of the prophets some time back, and we started with Adam alayhi salam. Then we talked about Nuh alayhi salam. Now we're talking about Ibrahim alayhi salam. As I said before, we can't cover everything about the prophets and messengers, and actually we decided to discuss only the lives of 7 prophets among the 25 mentioned in the Quran. And what we focus on is what we benefit in our daily lives from the events that happened during the times of those prophets and messengers. So last time we were still talking about Ibrahim's father Azar, what will be his destiny on the day of judgment, and what were the methods that Ibrahim alayhi salam was using to convince him to stay away from idolatry, from worshipping idols. But his father grew very obstinate. Every time Ibrahim tried to convince him, making sense of the worship of only one God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his father would be stubborn. So we will talk about his tireless efforts in inviting his father to Islam. And actually we said, what were the reasons for Ibrahim alayhi salam to concentrate on his father inviting him to Islam? And will the people who will go to paradise be sad when they will see their relatives suffering in the hellfire? We talked about that last time. So today we will be talking about some other issues, and there are some misconceptions about Ibrahim alayhi salam that we will be clearing when we are talking about his life. So Ibrahim alayhi salam continuously was trying his best to convince his father to abandon idol worship. He tried different methods, and all those times when he was calling his father to worship only one God, he was polite. He did not whatsoever disrespect his father. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously tells us about Ibrahim, informing us about the methods and techniques that he used to convince his father to worship only one God. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لِأَبِيهِ آزَرَ أَتَتَّخِذُ أَصْنَامًا آلِهَةً إِنِّي أَرَاكَ وَقَوْمَكَ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. Now behold, Abraham said to his father, and his father's name was Azar, we said that, do you take idols for gods? So instead of worshipping only one God, Allah, so you are taking idols as your gods? Indeed, I see you and your people falling into clear misguidance. So worshipping idols, the ones that you shape by your own hands, the ones that can't help you in any way, instead of God, worshipping Allah, your creator, you're worshipping idols. This is clear misguidance. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues telling us about the strategy of Abraham. And we said when we started that the people of Babylon were worshipping idols. So they would carve images out of stones and trees, and the people of Damascus worshipped celestial bodies. We talked about the 7 stars that they used to worship, and the people of Haran also worshipped stars. Now, does anyone remember where we said Haran is currently located? So Ibrahim, as you said before, he was born in Babylon, then he immigrated, he went to Haran, he went to Palestine, he went to Egypt, as we will be talking. So does anyone remember where currently Haran? It's in English, it's always translated as Paran. So Haran, we said, historically, it was part of Syria, but now if you look on the map, it's part of Turkey. So we don't know whether Turkey invaded that part of the land. This is politics. So the people of Babylon were worshipping idols. The people of Damascus were worshipping stars, and the people of Haran as well were worshipping stars. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was trying to appeal to the logic to discourage them from worshipping celestial bodies. These are creatures created by Allah like us. They don't have any superiority over us. The only one worthy to be worshipped is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who is worthy to be worshipped, because He does not disappear. All those celestial bodies that they were worshipping would disappear. So imagine you depend on someone to protect you, to provide for you, and this person disappears. So during the disappearance, who is going to help you? When you have a problem, who will be there for you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Hayyul Qayyum, the ever living. He doesn't die. There is no beginning, there is no end for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is self-subsistent. No, He needs no one to help Him. So He is the only one worthy to be worshipped. So Ibrahim alayhi salam did not resort to violence, attacking those people, abusing them, insulting them. He was just reasoning out with them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكَذَلِكَ نُرِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلِيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلُ رَأَى كَوْكَبًا قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ فَلَمَّا رأى القمر بازغا قال هذا ربي فلما أفل قال لئن لم يهدني ربي لأكونن من القوم الضالين فلما رأى الشمس بازغة قال هذا ربي هذا أكبر فلما أفلت قال يا قوم إني بريء مما تشركون. So the people among the celestial bodies that the people were worshipping, especially the people of Haran and Damascus, they would worship the moon, the sun, and some stars. So Ibrahim wants to use the same logic. So he didn't want to abuse them, but he wants to prove to them that these celestial bodies are not worthy of being worshipped because they disappear. So Allah says, and so too did we show Abraham the celestial majesty and divine authority in the vast kingdom of the heavens and the earth, so that he would be of those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with certainty. So when the night spread over him, he said, this is my Lord. Then when it disappeared, he said, I do not love that which disappears. So when he saw the moon rising, he said, this is my Lord. Then when it disappeared, he said, if my Lord does not guide me, I shall most surely be of the people who are astray. So when he saw the sun rising, he said, this is my Lord, this is bigger. This is bigger than both of them, than the moon and the stars. O people, I am innocent of worshipping all that you associate as gods with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Rabb, does anyone remember the meaning of Rabb? It's always translated as Lord. But you said from the Arabic point of view, it's more than that. Does anyone remember any of the meanings of the word Rabb from the Arabic literal point of view? So we said Rabb means your creator, sustainer, cherisher, provider, protector, safe haven, among others. So when Ibrahim alayhi salam was telling his people, first he saw some stars, he saw a star, and he says, this is my Lord. The star disappears. Then he sees the moon. He says, this is my Lord. Then he sees the sun. Then when they all disappear, he says, I don't like that which disappears. Now, when he said, Hada Rabbi, did he literally mean that the star was his Lord, that the star was the one who created him? So Allah is telling us about Ibrahim alayhi salam. So he was reasoning out with his people who were worshipping stars, moon and the sun and some other celestial bodies. So he wanted to use their own logic to prove them wrong. So at the beginning when he sees a star, he says, this is my Lord. And we said the meaning of Lord is creator. So Ibrahim is a messenger among Ulil Azm, the messengers of strong resolve. So does Ibrahim at this time believe that the star is his creator? Did he believe in that? So what did he want? So he's using their own logic to prove them wrong. That if you worship something, that what you worship should be in position of helping you and should be there for you all the time. And by the way, those people were believing that Allah is the creator of the heaven and the earth and the creator of everything, but they worshipped those celestial bodies and idols because they thought they would confer upon them benefits and they would ward off some problems. So deep down in their hearts, they acknowledged Allah as the creator of everything, but they used to think that these celestial bodies would be mediators between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was using what's called in Arabic al-istifhamul inkari. In English, it's negative interrogative question. You are asking someone a question not because you are expecting an answer from him, but you are asking him a question to prove to him that what he's doing is wrong. So they say, interpreters of the Quran, they say what he meant, it means هَذَا الَّذِي تَزْعُمُونَ أَنَّهُ رَبِّي. So when he saw the star, he says, is this what you claim, that he is my creator, my Lord? So alluding to the star. So he was asking them a negative interrogative question which was to prove to them that they were wrong in what they were doing. So when he saw the star, he's asking them in public, is this what you claim that is my creator, cherisher, provider? So when it disappeared, he said, so what can I do now if I need someone to provide for me, if I need protection? Now it has disappeared. So when he saw the moon was the same. And also they say it alludes to a question, another negative interrogative question. أَهَذَا الَّذِي تَعْتَقِدُونَ رَبًّا لِي? Is this what you believe that is my Lord and Creator? So Ibrahim alayhi salam was challenging his people following their own logic. Other words, in no way he could believe that the moon, the sun and the stars were his Lord, but he wanted to prove to them that they were wrong. So using the same logic. And in our daily lives, when we either argue with people or we discuss with people, sometimes we use their own logic to prove them wrong. Can anyone give me an example of how you can use someone's logic to prove that he is wrong? Someone believes in something, someone says something, you say the same statement, but the way you say it proves to him that he is wrong in believing that or in saying that. Does anyone remember how we can use someone's logic to prove him wrong? Does anyone remember how we can use someone's logic, the way he thinks, to prove that he is wrong? I'll just give you an example. I used to work with someone who used to be very proud of his country. And every time he would bring us news, look, this happened in my country, this and that. And we would tell him, you know, it's high time you go back home. So your country is faring very well. You resign and go back, or go back home, work over there, then invite us, look for us jobs. So after that, he stopped saying that. So we are using his own logic. We are confirming what he said. His country is good. We didn't say no, but we said, okay, if it's good, it's doing well, go back. Why do you stay here? Why are you working in a foreign country? It's time now for you to go back. So after that, he stopped doing that because it was too much. So any other examples of using someone's logic? Yes, sister?
Yeah, for example, fired that thing.
She fired you because of that? Okay, it was wrong. Another example, I met someone in one of the airports, not mentioning countries. He asked, where are you from? I told him where I was from, although he claimed he was a professor of geography and whatever in one of the universities. So he asked me, do you have an airport in your country? So I'm here, I'm with him. I came by an aeroplane. I have my ticket, I have my passport. So such kind of a person, how would you answer? I told him, no, we don't have an airport. We have a huge tree. So the aeroplane lands on the tree, they bring ladder, and then we come out. Even your ambassador, when he goes there, he lands on the tree. So he didn't have anything to say. So proving someone wrong using his own logic. Any other examples how to prove someone wrong using his own logic?
About things like this in the Bible.
Yeah, so I would always ask them, if you look at a picture of Mary, the mother of Jesus, or the nuns in the churches, how do they dress? So she would keep quiet. He or she would keep quiet. So using the same logic to prove them wrong. So this is what exactly Ibrahim did. And by the way, even in the Bible, it's prohibited to worship idols. You have to worship only one God. It's said in Leviticus chapter 26, verse number 1. It says, you shall not make idols for yourselves, neither a carved image nor a sacred pillar shall you rear up for yourselves, nor shall you set up an engraved stone in your land to bow down to it. For I am the Lord your God. So Allah is telling people, even in the Bible, that they should not worship idols. So in some verses as well, as we will see. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously is telling us about Ibrahim. He tried very hard with his father, and we said the reasons why he concentrated first on his father, his people, to discourage them from worshipping idols. Yet he never insulted anyone, he never abused anyone, but he used the most effective ways of appealing to the logic of the people he was talking to. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, now he reached a point whereby he's affirming his position that he worships only one God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, إِنِّي وَجَّهْتُ وَجْهِيَ لِلَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ حَنِيفًا وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ وحاجه قومه قال أتحاجوني في الله وقد هدان ولا أخاف ما تشركون به إلا أن يشاء ربي شيئا وسع ربي كل شيء علما أفلا تتذكرون. So the translation is, I have turned my face being ever a pride of heart to the one who alone originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of those who associate partners with Allah. And so his people argued with him about his faith. He said, do you argue with me concerning the oneness of Allah? Well, truly He Himself has guided me to the truth. Thus I will never fear your threats of wrath from all the gods that you associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except if my Lord were to will something. For my Lord has encompassed all things in knowledge. Will you not then be mindful that Allah is one? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in many verses in the Quran, He tells us even about the mushrikeen of Mecca, that if you ask them who created the heavens and the earth, they will say Allah. And if you ask them, why then do you worship idols? They would say, مَا نَعْبُدُهُمْ إِلَّا لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى. So we don't worship these idols for any other purpose. The main aim to worship them is to be intermediaries between us and Allah. So the mushrikeen of Mecca, they acknowledge the creator of the heavens and the earth is Allah. And as we've been saying before, until now, no one has ever claimed to be the creator of the heavens and the earth, or anything else, because when we're born we see them. So no one can claim whatsoever, and no one will ever claim to be the creator of the heavens and the earth. So Ibrahim, since he knows that they believe Allah is the creator of the heavens and the earth, so he says, I will submit to only Allah who created the heavens and the earth. So again in the Bible, it's in Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse number 4, it said, hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one Lord. And actually the context of this verse is that one day Jesus was walking. So a scribe came to him, and a scribe is a person who used to know how to read and write. And during that time, if anyone knew how to read and write, was held in high regard. It's like nowadays, if someone is a computer savvy, he would be held in high regard. If you don't know computers, in some companies you can't be employed. So this man, who was regarded as an educated man, it was an opportunity for him to learn from Jesus. So he used to hear about Jesus, he used to hear some teachings of Jesus, and now he has come in contact with Jesus. So he asked Jesus, good master, what can I do to enter the eternal life? In other words, what shall I do to go to paradise? Jesus protested. He said, why callest thou me good? Why do you call me good? There is none who is good except my Lord who is in heaven. So Jesus didn't want even this person to call him good. He was a submissive messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the man says, okay, tell me, what shall I do to enter paradise? Jesus said, follow the commandments. So the man said, what is the first of these commandments? Jesus said in Hebrew, Shama Israel, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. Listen, O children of Israel, the Lord your God is one God. So Jesus, this would have been a golden opportunity on a silver platter for Jesus to tell this man that I am God, worship me. But he said the Lord is one, worship your God. So even in the Bible, worshipping idols isn't allowed. So there is this quote which I liked. Your worship is not a gift from you to Allah. It is a gift from Allah to you. So to worship Allah is Allah's gift. How is it a gift? So when we worship Allah, we are not doing Him any service. Actually, in Al-Hadith Al-Qudsi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O my servants, if you were to worship me since the beginning of creation until the day of judgment, all of you worshiping me in one heart, in the best possible manner, you will increase nothing on my kingdom. And if you were to disobey me, all of you, since Adam until the last person, until the day of judgment, if all of you decided to disobey me, it will decrease nothing from my majesty. So whatever we do, actually we're doing a service to ourselves. So how is it a gift to ourselves, being commanded to worship Allah? So being a Muslim, this is a gift from Allah. And actually we have to be thankful for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. So make sure you die as a Muslim, as a believer. Actually the point is, how is it a gift for us? Now, for example, I usually tell people about the benefits of believing in one God. Now, if you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you submit yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one can cheat you, no one can lie to you, no one can deceive you. You know, for example, I usually give this example. Someone is suffering from a chronic disease, let's say HIV/AIDS, and he knows he will die. But because this person doesn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will be easy for any soothsayer, any magician, any sorcerer to come and deceive him that, it's not HIV, your sister is bewitching you, your mother is bewitching you, your friend, so and so. So this person, first, he will cause you problems between you and your family members. 2, he will extort your money. You will pay a lot of money, assuming that he is going to help you to heal from this disease. And finally, you will die in a negative situation, not having good relations with your family members, while you've lost a lot. But if you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing can threaten you. You will be a slave of Allah, not a slave of any human being. You can, yes, respect human beings, but you fear only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this will give you self-esteem, and this will make you a positive person. There are a lot of benefits. If you read, for example, the acts of worship that we do, for example, prayer, charity, fasting, there are a lot of benefits. But when we do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still informs us about the argument of Ibrahim with the idol worshippers, confirming to them that, any person who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, there is nothing for him to fear. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَكَيْفَ أَخَافُ مَا أَشْرَكْتُمْ وَلَا تَخَافُونَ أَنَّكُمْ أَشْرَكْتُمْ بِاللَّهِ مَا لَمْ يُنَزِّلْ بِهِ عَلَيْكُمْ سُلْطَانًا فَأَيُّ الْفَرِيقَيْنِ أَحَقُّ بِالْأَمْنِ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ أُولَئِكَ لَهُمُ الْأَمْنُ وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ وَتِلْكَ حُجَّتُنَا آتَيْنَاهَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ عَلَى قَوْمِهِ نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتِ مَنْ نَشَاءُ إِنَّ رَبَّكَ حَكِيمٌ عَلِيمٌ. So the translation is, and how is it that I should fear what you've associated as gods with Allah? So Ibrahim is telling his people, while you do not fear to associate in worship with Allah that for which He has not sent down to you any authority. So as we usually say, those who worshipped idols or celestial bodies or whatever they do worship apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what did they tell them? So what did the idols, for example, tell them? That, if you worship me, I will reward you in this way. If you don't worship me, I will punish you. If you worship me, I will give you this and that. The idols don't speak. Those who worshipped celestial bodies, what did the sun tell them? What did the moon? Did they come up with a method that you have to worship me in this way? So they don't have any argument. They don't have any threat from those which they worship. So they are just following fancy, something which is futile. So Ibrahim is reasoning out with them, assuming that they will come to their senses. So Ibrahim continues, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to confirm to us and to those who believe that those who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, they have nothing to fear in this world and in the hereafter. So Ibrahim, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is telling us which of these two parties then is more worthy of feeling secure, if indeed you know the truth. So, is it the party that follows Allah or the party that worships idols? Of course, the party that worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala feels more secure than others. Even if others claim to be happy, claim to have peace, but deep down in their hearts, they don't have it. We said before about Abu Jahl, when deep down in his heart, he was convinced Muhammad's teachings ﷺ were correct, but because of jealousy, because of competition, he didn't believe in him. So how could such a person be happy when he knows deep down in his heart that the path he's following is wrong? Of course, they can't be happy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, says, such then was our clear argument. So Allah is the one who guided Ibrahim on what to say, when to say it, and on believing in Him in the first place. So we raise in rank whomever we so will. Indeed, your Lord is all-wise, all-knowing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that He is the one who raises people in rank. So if you are in a higher position, this doesn't mean you attained it because of your intelligence, because of your hard work. Maybe your hard work can do, but without the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can't be there. So even if you work hard, even if you are intelligent, who gave you that intelligence? Who made it easy for you to achieve what you did? So only Allah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises people high and puts people down. And actually the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Man tawadha'a lillahi rafa'ah." Whoever humbles himself for the sake of Allah, Allah will raise him high. And we see Ibrahim, a messenger of Allah, and actually he's the best after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was very kind with his people. He was very modest. He was not abusing them. He tried his best to appeal to their logic. He would have said, I'm a messenger of Allah, better than you are stupid. He never said any negative words. Yet, according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the best of them, but He never told them, I am better than you. So this is to show to us that if you really believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you follow the teachings of Islam, they will make you a humble person. And if you humble yourself for the sake of Allah, Allah will raise you high in different ways. So there is a hadith that was narrated by Abu Huraira, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ما نقصت صدقة من مال وما زاد الله عبدا بعفوه إلا عزة وما تواضع أحد لله إلا رفعه الله. So the translation is, wealth does not decrease by giving charity. So if someone comes as a poor, needs charity, you give them, because this charity won't decrease your wealth, but rather it will increase it. And the servant of Allah who forgives those who wrong him, Allah will give him more honor. So Ibrahim forgave them. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those who insulted him personally, he forgave them. And actually when he liberated Mecca, people were afraid that he's going to take revenge. They were all panicking. But he said, I will not blame you. Go, you are free people. They didn't trust their ears. They didn't believe in what they heard from the Prophet, the Messenger of Allah. So these were people who persecuted the Muslims, who forced the Muslims to migrate from Mecca to Medina, who did a lot of evil. But the Prophet ﷺ is higher than that. For the sake of Allah, he forgave them. And by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and by the virtue of his forgiveness, a lot of them, if not all of them, became Muslims without anyone forcing them to be Muslims. So Allah is telling you that if you forgive those who do wrong to you, then Allah will hold you in high rank. And who humbles himself for the sake of Allah, Allah will raise him high. Now, regarding forgiveness, it's a long topic, but the question is, if someone wrongs you continuously and you keep forgiving, then he wrongs you again, is he worthy forgiving? Because sometimes if you forgive, the culprit might think that you are weak, you can't revenge, so it will not have value to him. So even forgiveness depends on the culprit, depends on the circumstances, depends on the situation. So sometimes it's better to forgive, but sometimes it's better to punish. Because if this person is forgiven and he continuously commits sins, so he will commit bigger sins, and the society will suffer for that. So there is also this quote, you will not enter paradise until you have faith, and you will not have faith until you love one another. لا تدخلوا الجنة حتى تؤمنوا ولا تؤمنوا حتى تحابوا. So one of the reasons why Ibrahim was keen to invite his people to worship only one God, it's because he loved them. He didn't want them to suffer in the hellfire. The same way the Prophet ﷺ and others, they were keen to invite people to the worship of one God, Allah, because they loved them. Actually, the Prophet ﷺ gives us an example. He says, the similitude of me and you is the example of someone who kindled a fire, and some flies were trying to fall into the fire, and this person was chasing them away, but some of them were dodging his hand, falling into the fire. So one of the reasons, kindness. So Ibrahim was kind to his people, alayhi salam, and other prophets. This is why he exhausted all efforts in order to discourage them from worshipping idols. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our creator, cherisher, protector, provider, among others. He created for us before creating us. Thus, He is the only one worthy to be worshipped. So Ibrahim alayhi salam told his people that the celestial bodies they were worshipping, they would rise and disappear. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not whatsoever disappear. So He is the only one worthy to be worshipped. This is why we always say that whatever you do it for the sake of Allah. If you depend, you only depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes in your life, you pin your hopes on someone, that when I have a problem, this person will come to my rescue, this person will help me. But actually, when you get a problem, either this person will be absent, or he will be dead, or he will hide himself from you, or he will come up with flimsy excuses. Most of the time, when you are in a problem, there are strangers who come to your rescue. So who is sending them to you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why we say, if you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you worship Him sincerely, you do it for the sake of Allah. Don't expect people to praise you. Don't expect people to pay back, because Allah is always there. He doesn't die. He's the ever-living. So He will always take care of you. Even after you die, He will be there for you. So there is this quote which goes, the sky takes on shades of orange during sunrise and during sunset. The color that gives you hope that the sun will set only to rise again. Yes, the sign is fantastic. We benefit a lot from it, but it's not worthy worshipping. Allah is the creator of this sun. And actually, if you remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 29, He says, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. So Allah is the one who created for you everything on earth. So imagine something that was created for you, you worship it. So these are all the benefits that you get from the color of orange, which this guy says, the sky takes on shades of orange during sunrise and sunset, the color that gives you hope that the sun will set only to rise again. So it's great, the sun will benefit a lot from the moon, but we shouldn't worship them. And actually in medieval Europe, people used to worship the sun, and actually if you trace the celebration of Christmas, it goes back to the worshippers of the sun. This is another topic. So even though we benefit a lot, yes, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for creating the sun, the moon, and whatever celestial bodies, but we can't in no way worship these bodies, because they come and disappear, and only Allah, the creator of everything, is worthy to be worshipped. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us again, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ اللَّيْلُ وَالنَّهَارُ وَالشَّمْسُ وَالْقَمَرُ لَا تَسْجُدُوا لِلشَّمْسِ وَلَا لِلْقَمَرِ وَاسْجُدُوا لِلَّهِ الَّذِي خَلَقَهُنَّ إِن كُنْتُمْ إِيَّاهُ تَعْبُدُونَ. So translated as, now of His wondrous signs are the night and the day, and the sun and the moon. You will not prostrate down to the sun, nor to the moon, but you will prostrate yourselves down to Allah alone, whom you worship. So these are great signs, the moon, the sun, the stars. These are actually the signs to some people of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one again has ever claimed to be the creator of the sun, the moon, and the celestial bodies, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And never will anyone claim to be the creator of these celestial bodies. So there is another quote, if you cry because the sun has gone out of your life, your tears will prevent you from seeing the stars. So what do we learn from this? If you cry because the sun has gone out of your life, your tears will prevent you from seeing the stars. We learn a lot of lessons from this quote. One of them is to be positive. So in your life, look at what you have, not at what you don't have. This will give you hope, and it will give you appreciation for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what He has given you. So instead of worshipping the sun, we appreciate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Him for creating the sun. And actually the sun is the predominant gravitational force in the solar system, followed by Jupiter. Anyway, Ibrahim alayhi salam told his people who were deeply engrossed in idol worship that I don't care about the gods you worship besides Allah, because they can neither benefit nor harm anyone. Neither can they hear or understand anything. Now this was the opportunity when Ibrahim said this, that those idols couldn't harm or benefit him. So it was their opportunity to prove him wrong, that yes, they can harm you, they can benefit you. They kept quiet, they didn't say anything. So all this is to convince them that these idols that they carve out by their own hands are not worthy to be worshipped. So they are just creatures of Allah. Everything is a creature of Allah, subjected by Allah, just like stars and planets. So the stones, the trees, and whatever, these are creatures of Allah. And Allah is the one telling us He created them, but they carve images and then they worship them, which do not help them in any way. And rather, they were the ones protecting them, bringing food and drinks, assuming that those idols would eat and drink. So imagine you feed something and then you worship it. So others that you worship are just images that you carve out of stones or trees and then erect them in your designated places of worship. So Ibrahim, during all this time, he's trying to convince the people that these idols can't harm you, can't help you. The celestial bodies that some people who were worshipping in Damascus and Haran couldn't benefit them in any way. So here there is another quote. anything at all can become an idol once it becomes a substitute for God. So if you value something more than Allah, you give attention to something more than Allah, you fear someone or something more than you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it becomes an idol. So we should only fear Allah. We should love Allah. So everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to take priority in everything that we do. Yes, we might have our vested interest in something, but whatever we do, our main aim should be to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's clearly understood that Ibrahim's exhortations to his people to avoid worshipping stars and other celestial bodies, for that matter, was meant for the people of Harran. So as we said before, the people of Damascus and Harran were worshipping 7 stars. We mentioned them. So Ibrahim in this argument was talking particularly to the people of Damascus and Harran, because they used to worship stars and some celestial bodies. And the people of Babylon were worshipping idols in different shapes. And actually here it comes, Babylonians were the ones worshipping idols. And it were they with whom Abraham argued about polytheism and broke their idols into pieces in utter humiliation to them and to their idols. So we will be talking about how Ibrahim crushed the idols. So they used to celebrate some festivities once a year, and there is a time when they invited Ibrahim alayhi salam to go with them. He wouldn't like to go. He said he was sick, and they left him behind. So he crushed the idols and hung an axe in the biggest one of them to prove to them that these idols they were worshipping wouldn't even defend themselves. So Ibrahim alayhi salam is still appealing to his people to understand that the creator of everything is Allah, and He is the only one worthy to be worshipped. He says, وَقَالَ إنما اتخذتم من دون الله أوثانا مودة بينكم في الحياة الدنيا ثم يوم القيامة يكفر بعضكم ببعض ويلعن بعضكم بعضا ومأواكم النار وما لكم من ناصرين. For he said to them, indeed, you've taken graven images for worship apart from Allah as a means of attaining a genuine mutual love between yourselves as a people in the life of this world. But then on the day of resurrection, you will disbelieve in one another. Moreover, you will curse one another, for your eternal abode is the hellfire. Thus, for the likes of you, there will not be any helper against Allah's punishment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that those who will be punished in the hellfire, they will be enemies to one another. They will curse one another. Now they are supporting one another in idol worship, in sins, and doing whatever they do because they want to get mutual friendship. But this friendship won't help them anything on the day of judgment. Now, for example, we said Abu Jahl told his nephew openly that the Prophet ﷺ was not lying. Whatever he said was true. And that he didn't believe in the Prophet because of competition between his family and the Prophet's family. So what do you think prevented his nephew from becoming a Muslim? So Abu Jahl has told him openly, the man, what he tells us, alluding to the Prophet ﷺ, what he says is true. I just don't believe in him because of jealousy, because of competition. So what held back his nephew from believing? So what do you think held back his nephew? Abu Jahl has already told him the truth. Even during the battle of Badr, another person, Abu Jahl tells him, you know, Prophet is telling the truth. He doesn't lie, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But because of competition, I'm fighting against him. So why didn't those people believe? Yet, Abu Jahl had already told them why he was fighting against the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So does anyone know why? Because ego, selfishness, what else? They didn't want to ruin their relationship with him. They were short-sighted. They were not independent in their thinking and actions. So those people who followed Abu Jahl, after knowing that he was just stubborn, they will be enemies to one another. This is why the Prophet ﷺ tells us, الرجل على دين خليله فلينظر أحدكم من يخالل. A man follows the religion of his friend. So let each one of you consider whom he befriends. If you are a friend of a good person who encourages you to pray and to do good things, he will have an impact on you in one way or the other. But if you befriend someone who is a sinner, he will always encourage you to commit sins. So you will think that he is your friend. He will think you are his friend. on the day of judgment, you are going to fight against one another. It's like even on this world, if people were accomplices in committing a crime, when they go to jail, they start fighting against one another. You're the one who forced me, you lied to me, you did this. So you're the one who convinced me. They will start fighting against one another. So what people do, if it's wrong, yes, they might get some momentary benefits of friendship, but on the day of judgment, they will be sworn enemies to one another. They will curse one another. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about the shaitan. You know, some people when they commit sins, they say, you know, I was tempted by the devil. It wasn't me, it was shaitan. So listen to this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَالَ الشَّيْطَانُ لَمَّا قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ إن الله وعدكم وعد الحق ووعدتكم فأخلفتكم وما كان لي عليكم من سلطان إلا أن دعوتكم فاستجبتم لي فلا تلوموني ولوموا أنفسكم ما أنا بمصرخكم وما أنتم بمصرخي إني كفرت بما أشركتموني من قبل إن الظالمين لهم عذاب أليم. So the translation is, thus Satan will say to the disbelievers when the matter of Allah's judgment will have been decreed. So now they all see the truth on the day of judgment. Things that they were not seeing, things that they were belying, so they will see the truth. And people will complain that the devil was the one alluring them to disobey Allah. So the shaitan will say, indeed Allah promised you the promise of truth. So the shaitan now is acknowledging, and I promised you, then I failed you. Yet never did I have any authority over you except that I called to you and you responded to me, so don't blame me. So what's meant by sultan translated as authority? Two things. So the shaitan did not come to you physically to manhandle you, to force you to commit sins. Did anyone see the shaitan appearing and forcing him to disobey Allah? Or the shaitan did not convince you? What did it tell you? Did you hear the shaitan speak? So always when people commit sins, no, I was tempted by the shaitan. Did he convince you? Did you see him? So the shaitan will say, I didn't have any authority over you. I didn't convince you. I didn't force you. Just I invited you and you came by yourself. So don't blame me, but rather blame yourself. Neither can I heed your cry for help, nor can you heed my cry for help. Now the word here is asraha. You know, Arabic is very deep. So it's not only to heed your cry, it's more than that. So I have this word here, it is asraha. Asraha. And I have saraha. Saraha. So saraha means he shouted, he cried for help, he shrieked, he yelled. So when you are in distress or you want someone to pay attention or someone who is fair, you will shout. But asraha, this hamza, it's called the hamzatul izala. So the hamza of removing something, which means asraha means he asked someone to remove him in the situation of crying for help. In other words, what the shaitan means is that on the day of judgment, people will be crying in agony. They will be yelling, they will be shouting to get someone to help them. So if when you cry you are in a problem, then someone helps you, of course you will keep quiet. So this means azala surah. There is no one who will remove your shouting or who will put you in a situation whereby you will no longer shout for help. So the shaitan is telling them, I will not help you. Now still people, after reading this, some of them are still worshipping the shaitan, are still allowing the devil to tempt them. Yet on the day of judgment it will distance itself from them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises Ibrahim alayhi salam about so many things. He says, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَكُنَّ بِهِ عَالِمِينَ إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَا هَذِهِ التَّمَاثِيلُ الَّتِي أَنْتُمْ لَهَا عَاكِفُونَ قَالُوا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا لَهَا عَابِدِينَ قَالَ لَقَدْ كُنْتُمْ أَنْتُمْ وَآبَاؤُكُمْ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ قَالُوا أَجِئْتَنَا بِالْحَقِّ أَمْ أَنْتَ مِنَ اللاعبين قَالَ بَلْ رَبُّكُمْ رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ الَّذِي فَطَرَهُنَّ وَأَنَا عَلَى ذَلِكُمْ مِنَ الشاهدين وتالله لأكيدن أصنامكم بعد أن تولوا مدبرين فجعلهم جذاذا إلا كبيرا لهم لعلهم إليه يرجعون. So the translation is, now very truly we alone gave Abraham his distinctive right guidance before this. So we always talk about the plural of majesty. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. So why does he always say we? So he would have said, I alone gave Ibrahim his distinctive right guidance before this. So why does he use we, the plural of majesty? Does anyone know why he's using we? And actually, in many verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses we, but when he talks about worship, he says only him. So وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, only to worship. So when he says worship, he says he. He doesn't use the we of majesty, because people might misunderstand that, he says we, maybe we can worship angels, we can worship this and that. So in worship, he says only me. But in creation, in other things, he says we. Does anyone know why the we? Many qualities, attributes. Yeah, provided. So not only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates you, He provides for you, He takes care of you, He protects you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we gave Ibrahim his distinctive qualities before. Why? And we are protecting him. So Allah is guiding Ibrahim, He's protecting him, He's providing for him, He's saving him. So this we represents the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we usually say, maybe you have your son, you love him very much, your son wants to go and swim, you don't know how to swim, you take him to a swimming pool, you are left alone, you and your son, you love him very much, he drowns, you can't help him because you don't know how to swim and no one is there to help you. So your love is defective, isn't effective. But the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He's capable of doing everything, this is the complete love. So when He says we, not only do we create you, but we guide you. Or for example, you have employees, you want to acknowledge them, you want to honor them, you will give them what they want, and you don't care what they will do with it, whether it will be good for them or whether it will be bad, whatever. Just you want them to momentarily be happy. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He gives you something, it will benefit you in many ways, and in no way will it harm you. So the we is the we of care. He's always caring about you before you were created, and now, and when you die, and in the hereafter, He will always be there. So it's the we of care. And also, as we said, it's the we of majesty. In some languages, when you say we, it means it could be one person, but it's the we of majesty, showing the position of that person. But actually what he means, if he's a king or a ruler or a president, when he says we've decided, it means this decision, this ultimatum, this decree, we've studied it from different angles. So when I come to announce it, there is nothing that we didn't consider. So when he says we, it means they have considered what they're going to say in all aspects. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses we, that He guided Ibrahim to take care of him, to protect him. So it's a full package. So He says, behold, He said to His own father and His people, what are these statues to which you are devoted? They said, we found our forefathers worshipping them. So their only argument is that their forefathers were worshipping them. So, do you let your fathers think for you? Do you just imitate blindly what your fathers were doing? No, this is Allah who created you and your fathers. He is the one who telling you to worship Him alone. So, do you claim that your fathers are better than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So, He said, very truly, all of you, you and your fathers, your forefathers have been utterly lost in clear misguidance. They said, have you come to us with the word of truth, or are you of those who are merely jesting and playing? He said, no, indeed, your Lord is the Lord of the heavens and the earth, the one who alone originated them, and to this I am one of those who bear witness. Thus he said to himself, by God, I will most surely plot against your idols after you go away, when you have turned your backs to them. So he rendered all of them into pieces, except the biggest one of them, so that they might return to it and make inquiry. Now, Ibrahim alayhi salam, as we said before, he knew that the people used to believe that Allah was the creator of the heavens and the earth. They were worshipping idols because they claimed the idols would draw them closer to Allah. There would be intermediaries between them and Allah. And they used to think that the idols, the celestial bodies, had benefits for them. So, but deep down in their psyche, they believed in one God. So Allah is telling, Ibrahim alayhi salam is telling them that the one who created those which you worship is the one who is worthy to be worshipped. at least they could realize their mistake. But they didn't. Now, Ibrahim says, I will plot against your gods. He was alluding to the idols. I'm going to do something to them. Did he say it in public in front of them? Did he say it in public? Did he threaten them in public that I will crush your idols? I will plot against them? No. So according to Mujahid, he said that in secret. Only one person heard him. So he said it to himself, only one person heard him. Now, psychologically, there is something that we benefit here. So Ibrahim alayhi salam says to himself, I will plot against these idols. He's talking to himself. One person heard him. What do we psychologically benefit from this? Have you ever heard of something called self-talk? That if you're planning to do something, you keep repeating, I will do this, I will do this. Or if you're sad, you keep repeating some words, at least to alleviate your sadness. So self-talk is important. Ibrahim was angry, he was sad. Now he's continuously telling this to encourage himself to do it, to remind himself to do it, to be determined. So he's continuously repeating this statement in order to determine that he will do it. One person heard him. And it was said, he said it after they had left to go to their celebrations, but the weak among them were the ones who heard him. And you know, during those times, if someone was a slave, if someone was a servant, no one would listen to you. Even if you had something important to say, they would underestimate. So Ibrahim knows that when they come back, these are just weak people. No one will listen to them. Even if they say something, no one would believe them. And actually, we will see what happened. So Ibrahim said it to himself. Only one person heard, according to Mujahid, and according to other interpreters of the Quran. The weak among them were the ones who heard him say this statement that he will plot against the idols that they were worshipping. But he didn't say exactly what he would do to them. That was in his mind. So there is this quote: how much easier is it to be critical than to be correct? How much easier is it to be critical than to be correct? What do you benefit from this quote?
It's very easy to criticize.
Yeah, it's very easy to criticize someone, but not easy to be correct. Right? And actually, what is worse is when someone maliciously criticizes you. There is what is called constructive criticism, and there is malicious criticism. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, his criticism was constructive, because he already knew he was right. He was a messenger of Allah. He had guidance, and he was not disrespecting anyone. But you see, some people nowadays, if you do a mistake, they will shame you in public. They will criticize you in public, and most of it is malicious. And actually, I myself, my attitude nowadays, if someone comes to criticize me, I would tell him, do it first. Let me see how you do it. Because words are easier than actions. So let me learn from you. And in most cases, they don't even come and do it. So Ibrahim alayhi salam was confident because he got guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was doing what is called constructive criticism. He was not doing it maliciously, because what they were doing was wrong to themselves and to the society. And there is this one: envy is ignorance. Imitation is suicide. Envy is ignorance, and imitation. So those people, the argument they gave Ibrahim, our forefathers were worshipping idols, so we are following in their footsteps. So that is suicidal, and that's ignorance. So can anyone elaborate on this, or can anyone share what they understand from this? Envy is ignorance, imitation is suicide. Yeah, so you're losing your identity, especially if it's blind imitation. You don't know why he's doing this. So I usually give an example of blind imitation. You don't know how to swim. You are sailing on a boat, and someone in the middle of the ocean, he throws himself into the ocean, and you imitate them while you don't know how to swim. What will happen? You're committing suicide. So you can't imitate. And actually, when you blindly imitate someone, you are underestimating your intellectual capability. Allah gave us minds to think. Why should we blindly imitate people? Let's listen to them, ask them questions, see if we can or we can't. Because someone's circumstances are different from yours. Someone's situation is different from yours. We are not meant to live life the same. We are created, we were born differently, we live differently, but we can learn from one another. So these people, even they didn't know how idol worship began. Does anyone remember how idol worship began? Yes, they were following the footsteps of their forefathers, but their forefathers were tricked by the devil, by the shaitan. So you are now imitating someone who was fooled by someone else. You are blindly imitating him, assuming that what he's doing is right, yet it's wrong. He himself didn't use his mind. Does anyone remember how idol worship began?
As a representation of
Intermediaries. Yeah, another one. How idol worship began. Does anyone remember? You know, during the time of Nuh alayhi salam, there were 5 people who were righteous. Wad, Suwa', Yaghuth, Ya'uq, and Nasr. These were worshipping Allah. They were not worshipping idols. So when they died, Shaitan came to their successors and said, you know what? Wad, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, these were righteous people. They were good people. If you don't erect something to remember them, you will forget. At least put up some statues, erect some statues with their images, so when you look at them, it will encourage you to do what they were doing. So here the idea is good. We erect statues bearing the photos, the images of these people who were righteous, so that they will remind us to be righteous like them. But they didn't know that the devil was gradually tricking them. So they erected up, good idea, they erected up those statues. So after some time, after this generation passed away, the devil came and said, you know what? Your ancestors used to worship those idols, so you worship them. So this is how idol worship began. Now the people of Ibrahim, they're saying we are following in the footsteps of our forefathers. So their forefathers were doing something which was wrong, which was baseless. So this is to discourage blind imitation. If you see someone do something, go and ask them. Maybe according to him it's good, but to you it isn't. So don't say, he did this, let me just do it. No, you can't. And actually, even in education, even in parenting, it's very wrong to compare your children with other children. So for example, your neighbor's children have brought A+ in every subject. Your son brought C+ and B+. And you keep comparing. You see, the son of so-and-so brought... This is wrong. Because you don't know their circumstances. You don't know how they were brought up. You don't know where they grew up, which school they went to. You don't know the abilities of their parents. There are a lot of things that come into play. You might be blaming your son for things which he is innocent of. Maybe it's you. You're not guiding him. You're not educated well enough to guide him. So this is wrong in education, to compare your children with other children. Every individual has to be treated uniquely according to how he is, according to his circumstances. Or employees, for example, you compare them. So and so did this, why are you not doing this? No, everyone has his own abilities, everyone has his own motivations. So these people, the argument they gave, their forefathers were worshipping. And actually, the Prophet ﷺ discouraged us from blind imitation. Even his companions were about to fall into blind imitation. Let's see what happened. عن أبي واقد الليثي أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لما خرج إلى خيبر مر بشجرة للمشركين يقال لها ذات أنواط يعلقون عليها أسلحتهم فقالوا يا رسول الله اجعل لنا ذات أنواط كما لهم ذات أنواط فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم سبحان الله هذا كما قال قوم موسى اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة وَالَّذِي نَفْسِ بِيَدِهِ لَتَرْكَبُنَّ سُنَنَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ. So the Prophet ﷺ in a hadith that was narrated by Abu Waqid al-Laythi, Abu Waqid says, the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, when they went out to Khaybar, and this was during the 7th year of Hijrah, when the Prophet ﷺ went to fight against the Jews who were always plotting against the Muslims, in a long story. So the Prophet had organized an army to go and face the threat of those Jews during the 7th year of Hijrah. So on their way going to Khaybar, northern Saudi Arabia and the Arabian Peninsula, the companions of the Prophet, they saw a huge tree. This huge tree was being worshipped by idol worshippers. They used to claim that it was blessed. and they would hang their weapons on it, assuming that when they hang their weapons on it, they will have barakah, so they will become victorious in the war. So actually, the reason why they used to worship it, because it was in the middle of the desert, huge trees with a lot of branches, a lot of leaves. So they thought that this tree could be divine, could have some blessings. How could it survive in this arid desert? So the mushrikeen were hanging their weapons on the tree, assuming that the tree will give them blessings to win the battle. So when the companions of the Prophet ﷺ saw this, they were intrigued by the idea. They said, "O Messenger of Allah, make for us that and what like the one they have, so we can hang our weapons on it and have blessings." So the Prophet ﷺ was angry. He said, "Subhanallah, glory to Allah." And actually, Subhanallah, we said before about the translation of Subhanallah. Does anyone remember? We always say, glory to Allah, glorified is Allah, but there is a deeper translation of it. And actually, the real meaning of it is that Allah is far exalted, far sublime, far higher than anything they attribute to Him. So anything which isn't appropriate to describe Allah with, Allah is far exalted from it. So the Prophet is telling them, Subhanallah, you are getting blessings from Allah, you are worshippers of Allah, Allah is the creator of this tree. So why do you want to have a tree, a mere creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah is far away from this. So he continued, هذا كما قال قوم موسى اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم آلهة. When Musa alayhi salam was fleeing Egypt with the children of Israel in the wilderness, so the children of Israel, they passed by polytheists, people who were worshipping idols. So they used to they were asking Musa alayhi salam, make for us a god like just they have gods. And actually, during the absence of Musa alayhi salam, they made a calf. There is a story in the Quran about this. So the Prophet ﷺ is giving them an example of the children of Israel who were with Musa alayhi salam, and they wanted to imitate the mushrikeen. So they didn't learn about polytheism. They didn't learn as to why the mushrikeen were doing that. They just wanted to imitate them. So the Prophet ﷺ says, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَتَرْكَبُنَّ سُنَنَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ. I swear by Allah, in whose hand is my soul, you will follow the practices of those before you. So the Prophet ﷺ is warning his companions, is warning the believers that if you are not careful, you will follow the footsteps of those before you, which will lead you into disbelief. Now, this was a prophecy of the Prophet ﷺ. Don't we have some Muslims today who are doing things, according to them, it's a way of ibadah, but in essence, it's shirk? Don't we have them today? Any examples of some Muslims doing things which are against Islam, and sometimes they believe it's part of Islam? Any examples of that?
Like grave worshipping and
Yeah, some people, for example, if someone was a righteous person, they call him wali, they go to the grave. Someone, for example, who had a pious father, when they have a problem, they would go to the grave. Oh, my father, I am suffering since you left me. My stepmother is mistreating me. This. So assuming that the father will help, what will he do? He's already dead. So this is shirk. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ said, blind imitation. And mostly actually what I tell new Muslims, when they become Muslims, I tell them, be careful. Some people have the tendency of mixing culture with religion. So what your forefathers were doing, you do it, assuming that this is part of Islam. And you don't question it. So we have to question whatever we see. If we think it doesn't make sense, ask for a proof. Is there any proof in the hadith, in the Quran, or in the ayah? But many Muslims are falling victim, doing practices which are against Islam, assuming that they are following the footsteps of their forefathers. And this is not a strong argument. And actually, for this reason, I invited a friend of mine who will be coming next Thursday to share with us some tips about blind imitation. So the Prophet ﷺ said again in a hadith which is narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, he said, "Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadihi, فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان." Whoever of you sees an evil, let him change it with his hand. If he's not able to change it with his hand, then let him do it, change with his tongue, speak against it. And if he's not able to do so, then let him just hate it in his heart. And this is the weakest of faith. Now, according to this hadith, what are the steps that Ibrahim took to discourage his people from worshipping idols? So the Prophet says, if you see someone committing sins, if you see something evil, change it by your hand. If you can't change it by your hand, speak against it. Be vocal against it. If you can't, just hate it in your heart. And this is the weakest of faith. So what were the steps that Ibrahim took? So he first argued with them, appealing to their logic. So he used his tongue. Then he crushed the idols. Then, as we will see, he was punished. Then he was continuously hating it. Now, should we follow that order always? That when you see an evil, you change it by hand? Should it be the order of the day that we always change things? Yes, sister? It depends on the situation. You will just hate it and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change the situation. So it depends on where you are. So, for example, if you go to any of the developed countries, you are a refugee, and you find a statue, a monument, you crush it, you'll be in problems. So, and actually by crushing it, you are not going to convince people to believe in what you believe. So, you have to learn the psyche of the people, the psychology of the people. Learn about the most effective ways of changing things. So employ the most effective ways according to the culture where you are. And actually, does anyone remember the context of this hadith? You know, there are a lot of hadith which have contexts. And most of the time, we quote the sayings of the Prophet ﷺ without understanding them because we don't know the context. Actually, the context was Marwan ibn al-Hakam, one of the Muslim leaders. He was the first person during Eid to give khutbah before Eid prayer. You know, during Eid, we pray first and then we give khutbah. But Marwan ibn al-Hakam did the opposite. So he gave khutbah first before Eid prayer. And his reason was people during his time were very busy. If he delayed the khutbah, no one would have listened. And he had a lot of things to talk about. So was he right? Was he right in doing that? So according to him, during that time, people were so busy, engrossed in dunya. If he began with prayer and then khutbah, no one would listen. And he wanted to address important issues. So he began with khutbah and then he prayed. So one of the people who were there criticized him. So another person said, you've done your job. Because the Prophet said, Man ra'a minkum munkaran falyughayyir. Now you've said what you said, keep it. And there are steps on how you can enjoy what's good and enjoy what's evil. Because if you do it in the wrong way, instead of that person reforming himself, he will stick to his guns. Does anyone know an example on how someone beautifully address something wrong in a beautiful way without hurting the ego or the respect of someone? Actually, they let that person who did something wrong, they let him save face. Does anyone remember any example? Yeah, is there any practical example? One of the practical examples is that Al-Hasan and Al-Hussein, two grandchildren of the Prophet ﷺ, once they were going to pray in the masjid, and they found an old man performing wudu in the wrong way. It wasn't correct. And this is a prerequisite for prayer. If you don't perform wudu correctly, your prayer won't be accepted. So they were brainstorming what to do. This is an old man. We don't want to insult him. We don't want to embarrass him. So what did they do? They said, okay, let's ask him to be our judge. We will compete in front of him. So they said, uncle, we want to compete with each other in performing wudu, and you will judge who has done it better than the other. So he said, okay, they performed all together in front of him. So what happened? Finally, he said, you know, both of you did it right. I'm the one who did it wrong. He corrected himself. So if you see something wrong, you need to do something or to say something whereby the person himself will correct himself. And actually, when he does it in this way, for example, there is a time when I attended khutbah somewhere, and someone quoted a hadith which was not only weak, it was fabricated. And that was a person, people respected him in the area. So I couldn't go and tell him that, this hadith is fabricated. No. I said, your khutbah was very good, very touching, inspiring. And there is a hadith which you quoted. I wish if you could share the source with me, because I want to share it with some people. But the people I'm going to talk to, they're always asking about references, sources. So if I just quote it like this, they will ask me a lot of questions. So would you please give me the source of the hadith? He said, okay, I will send it to you. So he went back and he called me, said, by the way, I tried to research the source, the hadith is weak. I quoted it wrong. I was wrong to quote it. So he corrected himself. So by this, he saved face. So Ibrahim alayhi salam is showing us an example here. He didn't insult anyone. He didn't embarrass anyone. He was trying to appeal to their logic. And actually, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu says, Al-amru bil-ma'ruf wal-nahyu anil munkar afdalu a'mal al-khalq. Enjoining good and forbidding evil is the best action of the creation of the creatures of Allah. But you have to do it in the best way. And actually, in the process, while you are trying to encourage people to do good and to avoid evil, they will ignore you, then they will laugh at you, then they will fight you, then eventually you will win. So you have to do it but it depends. Not always will they fight you if you do it in the right way. And I always say, before doing anything, pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless your efforts, because you are doing it for the sake of Allah, and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can make you successful. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about Ibrahim alayhi salam, how he got sick of the behavior of his people. They were still adamant. They wanted to continue worshipping idols. So what did he say? وَإِنَّ مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ لَإِبْرَاهِيمَ إِذْ جَاءَ رَبَّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَاذَا تَعْبُدُونَ أَئِفْكًا آلِهَةً دُونَ اللَّهِ تُرِيدُونَ فَمَا ظَنُّكُمْ بِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ فَنَظَرَ نَظْرَةً فِي النُّجُومِ فَقَالَ إِنِّي سَقِيمٌ فَتَوَلَّوْا عَنْهُ مُدْبِرِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us about the situation when they invited him to go with them to celebrate their festivities. So he was sick of their practices. So Allah says, moreover, from his confirmed alliance was most surely Abraham, when he came to his Lord with a pure heart full of faith. Behold, he said to his own father and his people, what are you worshipping? Is it a mere fabrication, gods apart from the true God Allah that you desire? What then has become of your belief in the Lord of all the worlds? Then he took then there is an N is missing here. Then he took a contemplative look at the stars. Then he said, indeed, I am sick. So they turned away from him, leaving him behind. Now we said we will be sharing some verses in the Bible that discourage worshipping idols. Jesus said, it's written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only. This is in Luke chapter 4 verse number 8. In another verse in the Bible, do not make idols or set up an image or a sacred stone for yourselves, and do not place a carved stone in your land to bow down before it. I am the Lord your God. This is in Leviticus chapter 26 verse number 1. So actually I will end with 2 slides. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Inna Ibrahim kana ummatan qanitan lillahi hanifan walam yakum minal mushrikeen. What's the meaning of ummah? So we always talk about ummah, the Muslim ummah. What exactly does it mean? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising Ibrahim alayhi salam, is describing Ibrahim that he was ummah. So what's the meaning of ummah? Society, Muslim society, nation, brotherhood, what else? Yeah, all what you said is right. One of the definitions of ummah, it means a short period of time. A short period of time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنْ أَخَرْنَا عَنْهُمُ الْعَذَابَ إِلَى أُمَّةٍ مَعْدُودَةٍ لَيَقُولُنَّ مَا يَحْبِسُهُ ألا يوم يأتيهم ليس مصروفا عنهم وحاق بهم ما كانوا به يستهزئون. Translated, moreover, if we defer the torment for them to a calculated period of time. So ummah here is period of time. So Allah is talking about the polytheists, about the disbelievers who were always challenging their prophets. Bring the punishment now, bring it. So Allah says, when we defer, we delay the punishment for a calculated period of time. So ummah means period of time, and this is in the Quran. Ummah means also a nation, as you said, community of people of mainly common descent, history, and language. It also means a tribe or a confederation of tribes or a group of people. It is mostly used in reference to the Muslim community. Also, Ummah means an exemplary person who is emulated by people, who is imitated by the people. And it also means legislation, law, code, ordained way or system, belief, religion, creed. So all these come under Ummah. So for example, if we take Ummah as religion or creed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَالُوا لَوْ شَاءَ الرَّحْمَنُ مَا عَبَدْنَاهُمْ مَا لَهُمْ بِذَلِكَ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يَخْرُصُونَ أَمْ آتَيْنَاهُمْ كِتَابًا مِنْ قَبْلِهِ فَهُمْ بِهِ مُسْتَمْسِكُونَ بَلْ قَالُوا إِنَّا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا عَلَى أُمَّةٍ وَإِنَّا عَلَى آثَارِهِمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. Moreover, they say, had Allah the All-Merciful so willed, we would not have been worshipping idols as divine. Yet about this they have no more knowledge. They do nothing but bring forth lies. Or is it that we've given them a heavenly book before this Quran to which they now hold firm? Rather they say, indeed we found our forefathers adhering to a certain religion. So Ummah means also religion. Now if this is the case, why was Ibrahim called Ummah? Just one person is called Ummah. Why was Ibrahim called Ummah? So we said Ummah means nation, religion, a person who is revered and followed by people. So Ibrahim is one man and he's called Ummah. Does anyone know what were the reasons? Ibn Masud said he was called Ummah because he taught people what was good and beneficial to them. So he was always teaching people what's good. So, and if these people learn from him and implement his teachings, they will be together as a community. The teachings of Ibrahim that he got from Allah will bring them together as one community. So he is Ummah because he is encouraging people to live as one community. Ibn Umar said it's because he taught people their religion. So he was teaching people their true religion. And he was an exemplary Imam who people emulated and still follow. So he is followed by Muslims, Christians and Jews. So he's our Imam. We follow his practices. When we perform Hajj, a lot of the rites and rituals of Hajj, we got them from Ibrahim alayhi salam. He is our role model in many things. So he's Ummah. Mujahid said he was the only believer at the time when everyone else was a disbeliever. So at the time when everyone else is disbelieving in Allah, Ibrahim alayhi salam was the only one believing in Allah. So because he was the only one believing in Allah, he was Ummah by himself. Because he was representing the true monotheism, true teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He did not bog down to challenges. He did not succumb to challenges. And also because he had many skills and talents that you couldn't find in an entire society, entire Ummah. So entire society of people, Ibrahim had skills and talents that you would not find in an Ummah. So he himself was an Ummah. And according to Sheikh, his name is Al-Bahri, and this is his website, he said, he is the father and forefather of all the prophets and messengers after him. As we said before, all the prophets and messengers after Ibrahim, they all come from his lineage. So from Isaac, Ishaq, Jacob, then from Ismail. So all the prophets and messengers who came after Ibrahim, they all came from his lineage. So he is Ummah because after him there was Ummah of prophets and messengers and of righteous people. He was tried and tested severely on many occasions, such as trying to burn him and his debate with Nimrod, among others, but he never flinched. He stuck to his guns. He continuously worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the community of Muslims are proud to follow his religion. Jews and Christians also feel proud to follow Ibrahim, that he is their patriarch. Now there are still many things to talk about, but I will end with this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised Ibrahim as well as his religion. He said, وَجَاهِدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جِهَادِهِ هُوَ اجْتَبَاكُمْ وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرَجٍ مِلَّةَ أَبِيكُمْ إِبْرَاهِيمَ هُوَ سَمَّاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَفِي هَذَا لِيَكُونَ الرَّسُولُ شَهِيدًا عَلَيْكُمْ وَتَكُونُ الشُّهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. So the translation is, thus strive all believers for the sake of Allah to uphold his commandments with the kind of striving that is thoroughly worthy of him. For he alone chose you for his faith, nor has he placed on you any undue strain in your religion. It is the secret way of your forefather Ibrahim. So we are following the religion of Ibrahim. So as such, he is Ummah. Now there is a question here, and actually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Huwa sammakum al-Muslimin. So the literal translation is, He is the one who called you Muslims. Now I have heard some people give lectures and say Ibrahim is the one who called us Muslims. And especially those who are doing da'wah to non-Muslims, Jews and Christians, when they talk about Ibrahim, that Ibrahim is the one who gave us the name Islam. Is it true? No, actually Ibn Abbas says, Allahu sammakum al-Muslimin. So Allah is the one who called us Muslims, not Ibrahim. And Qatada, Mujahid, Dhahak, all of them. So it's Allah who named us Muslims. And as we said before, Islam began with Adam alayhi salam. Otherwise, if Ibrahim is the one who named us Muslims, was he there before Adam alayhi salam? Was he there before Nuh alayhi salam? But unfortunately, sometimes you would hear some du'at saying that Ibrahim is the one who gave us the name Islam. This is wrong. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who called us Muslims.